After leaving the museum, I headed back to the Amachi grounds and went down the main road that would take you to the camp. And it was pretty much, it was like 1 mile of a long, dusty dirt road. I can't imagine things have changed much since then. The front of the camp, there wasn't much there at the entrance. There was a sign there, a couple things standing, a couple of maps on it, very sparse, and another outline of the Amachi site. I should have read this one a little better versus the one I had in my hand. There was one little dedication marker on the ground nearby, and after that it was really hot. It was like 100 degrees, and just started to drive towards the area where my dad's barracks were, where I thought they were, and didn't see anything. Then finally I came across some foundations, concrete foundations still left over, and just got out of the car, and I wasn't sure where I was, but I had a map. It wasn't near my dad's yet, but I just wanted to take a look at some of the first ones I saw and walked around, took some photos. Then I believed I was in the block area where my father's barracks were. Every block had about 16 or 20 barracks. Each barrack were subdivided into maybe about 7 to 8 separate rooms for families. And at least in my dad's case, he was only with his brother, and I guess he was one of the lucky ones. I saw on the map back at the museum that other rooms had 7 or 9 people, but I have to believe they were family or related or relatives that wanted to stay together. So I just walked around, and at this point, yeah, I mentioned the heat, but it was scorching and very dry, and I was getting dehydrated, I'm sure. But in the whole 2.5 hours I was there, only one car kind of came in and went right back out. It was very quiet, and as you can see from some of the photos, there wasn't a lot to see around, all around. And you start sinking in slowly, start sinking in what the internees had to put up with for like 4 years. Well, I think I found my dad's barrack, 7H11. There was a big tree by it, and the guy at the museum told me there was a big tree by his barrack. There were other trees there, but I don't know, I thought this was it, and so I called my family's house in LA to talk to my dad to see what he remembered. Well, there was a Dodger game on, and I had to talk through my mom to talk to him while he was watching the Dodger game, and I guess he didn't know I was standing in 103-degree heat, dehydrated, delirious, seeing ghosts, and anyways, he couldn't answer any of my questions, so it was a very short conversation. Well, despite that, it was a strange feeling to see the barracks where he was for about 4 years of his life. And it started sinking in more and more, and I started getting more and more freaked out. You know, you start feeling, you almost felt like the spirits were still walking around there, or there was definitely some kind of presence. I don't know if I was just getting heat stroke and getting delirious, but it was just so darn quiet, I couldn't take it. But, well, one thing is for sure, you know, this happened. You know, my relatives were here, and then you start thinking like, wow, if it wasn't for Amachi, I wouldn't be here today myself, because at least in my case, my dad had met my grandparents here on my mom's side. Well, not on my dad's side, he knows them. But my mom wasn't here. My mom was in Japan, so he knew my mom's parents. He met them at Amachi camp. So if it wasn't for Amachi, I wouldn't be here today. And that's something I never really thought about till I got here. So it really worked out for me. I was born. And I guess my dad must have done some networking, because it was after the camp, somehow he hooked up with my mom. And that's without email and cell phones. And not sure how they did that then. But you have to give them all credit for being able to continue on with their lives and make lives out of nothing after leaving the camp. Like what would we have done back then? We can't even fathom what they went through. We can't even pretend to think we know what they went through. And going back to the cemetery at the back end of the camp and walking around there wasn't a lot there, but there was enough to make you remember that many people lost their lives while at Amachi and never knowing what happened after the war, after they were released from the camp. And that's kind of sad to think about. And then the young guys that volunteered for the military, U.S. military, and never came back with their parents, interned at Amachi. It was incredible to think of the decision they had to make at that time. So it's no wonder Japanese American parents were pretty strict on their kids later on, and they of course didn't want us to go through this and our experience anything remotely close to what they had experienced. It is amusing to think now what our parents may have thought about us growing up as kids, complaining about this and that, the food we eat, not having enough money, how unfair life is. Yeah, so I wonder what they were thinking. So leaving Amachi was very heavy, because I know this now was directly part of my existence today, which I never thought about before when I was going there, because it was just so far out of mind and out of place. But here I am, and I was really glad to come out here. And another reminder as I left Amachi that this was a Japanese American center, which I am. And I don't think any one of us should forget what our relatives went through during this time. No wonder they don't talk about it. It's anything to brag about. But gotta give them hats off to what they went through. And, we're lucky today that it's all behind us. So I hope if any of you have relatives that were in a camp, mother, father, uncles, aunts, grandparents, and you have a chance to visit that camp, look for their barracks. I suggest 100 plus degrees heat. Pick up the dirt, pick up some rocks, rub it on your face. And after a couple hours, you'll start to hallucinate and start seeing spirits and feeling the presence of ghosts all around you. But it's a good feeling. We'll show you some appreciation a little bit more than just driving through. But I am totally glad I went. Definitely eye-opening, and I appreciate everyone watching this video. So please have a nice day, and thank you very much.